This final video of successful coaching will help students in 336 understand and recognize what they need to know for the final exam. Chapter 1, you first need to develop a useful coaching philosophy which involves two major tasks. The first is to develop greater self-awareness, to get to know yourself better. The second is to decide what your coaching objectives are. Your objectives shape the way you see your role as a coach and thus shape many of your coaching behaviors. Chapter 1, we talked about your three selves: your ideal self, your public self, and your real self. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that there are no conflicts that arise between your real self and your other selves, because this can result in anxiety, guilt, or even self-hatred. So what you want to do to maintain good mental health is to try to keep your public and ideal selves compatible with your real self. In Chapter 2, we talked about determining your coaching objectives. The three major objectives of coaching are to win, to help young people have fun, and to help young people develop. Coaching objectives are different in recreational sports and competitive sports. Note the differences between recreational and competitive here. Notice that competitive sports are about winning, performance, and participation by the best, and recreational sports we have fun, learning, and participation by all. Remember that athletes are first and winning is second. Make sure you remember the Bill of Rights for young athletes. You're going to need to know at least two of these for the final, whether it's to have fun, to have equal opportunity, be treated with dignity, participation, right to have qualified adult leadership, and just knowing some of these terms for the final. In Chapter 3, we talk about selecting your coaching style. That is submissive, cooperative, and commanding. Examples of a commanding coach would be Bobby Knight. Cooperative coach would be Phil Jackson. And then a submissive coach, just knowing that these coaches are the individuals who might not know all the rules or directions of the game, and they tend to lack competence and confidence. In Chapter 4, we learn about coaching for character. Moral values are to be respectful, be responsible, be caring, be honest, and be fair, and also to be a good citizen. Know some of the actions in life and actions in sport that relate to the athlete's character code. So these are some strategies to become a coach of character. First, you want to model moral behavior, use and teach ethical decision making, motivate your players to develop good character, set rules for good behavior, explain and discuss moral behavior, and create a moral team environment. We talked briefly about bullying and hazing. Just know that we have a no tolerance rule for bullying and hazing, and that they should never be condoned on or off the field. The difference between bullying and hazing is that bullying excludes the victim from a group, whereas hazing ritual is a ritual imposed on a person who wants to join a group. And just know that we're coaching diverse athletes. Students come in different colors, different sizes, different attitudes, different backgrounds, and to understand that middle adolescents, 15 to 17, that most physical growth is completed by girls at 14 to 14 years and boys at about 16 years. For 18 to 21, these maturing young people are more secure and understand who they are, and then also just understand that there's going to be maturation differences, that just because they're 15 or 16 doesn't mean that they're going to be mature enough, or sometimes they might be more mature than your typical. Okay, here are some common disability groupings for disabled sports. We have sensory impairments, physical disabilities, and mental disabilities. Okay, we talked about different attention disorders, learning disabilities, and intellectual disabilities, and just make sure that you understand that there might be these individuals on your teams. Understand the three dimensions of communication. First, communication includes not only sending messages but also receiving them. There are also nonverbal messages, and communication has two parts: content and emotion. A way to develop your communication skills is to develop credibility when you communicate with a positive approach, sending messages high in information, communicate with consistency, learning how to listen, Improve your nonverbal communication skills. You improve your listening skills. First, you want to recognize the need to listen, recognize the need to concentrate on listening, and recognize the need to avoid interrupting your athletes. Make sure that you respect the rights of your athletes to share their views. It's important not only with your athletes' fears and problems, but also their joys. So we can motivate our athletes as coaches. We understand that people are motivated to fulfill their needs, and their needs usually are to have fun and to feel worthy. A way to motivate your athletes is to have different types of flow experiences and flow zones, and this will help the individual stay focused on the activity instead of getting bored or anxious. Chapter 8, Managing Your Athlete's Behavior. You want to understand the discipline process, instruction, training, and correction. With this perspective, discipline begins with instruction not only to develop sports skills, but also to develop life skills. Instruction is followed by training, which provides your athletes with opportunities to practice these skills. As they practice, you help them by correcting their mistakes. 6 steps of preventative discipline are: first, create the right team culture, have meetings, develop team rules, routines, practices, and then catch them doing the good. There are many different types of rewards for athletes. There are tangible or extrinsic rewards like trophies, medals, ribbons, and decals. There are people rewards like praise and smiles, activity rewards like getting to take a rest day, and then also knowing that we have intrinsic rewards which make yourself feel good inside. Understand the difference between technical and tactical skills. Technical skills mean the specific procedures to move one's body to perform the task that needs to be accomplished, where tactical skills are the decisions and actions of players in the contest to gain an advantage over the opposing team or players. Basically, a technical skill is the actual physical, and tactical skills is the cognitive. You're teaching technical skills. Understand that there's 3 stages: the mental stage, the practice stage, and the automatic stage. Okay? We did that in the classroom with tennis balls. When you're teaching technical skills, first you want to introduce it, then you want to demonstrate it, then have the athletes practice it, followed by correcting. Okay? Decision-making skills, tactical knowledge, and reading the situation is game sense. Remember on the test, everyone got mad at me because it said technical knowledge, okay? It's tactical knowledge, remember that. We talked about cognitive skills, improving attention and concentration. These are tactical skills. Tactical knowledge, like rules, understanding that tactical knowledge, like rules, means that you can steal the base based on the rules. This comes from different playing conditions, self-knowledge, knowing the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Then we have decision-making skills. Method 1, teach the tactics in whole, then the parts. 2, have the athletes observe decision-making in others. And 3rd, have athletes observe themselves. 4th, have variable practices. And 5th, control your feedback to your learners. Method 6, make sure you ask your students or athletes questions. When we talk about teaching tactical skills, making sure that if you want to teach tactical skills, there's a development plan. First, you want to identify the important decisions your players need to make, then determine what knowledge your athletes need to know, and then start talking about your cues which your athletes should attend to and cues which your athletes should not attend to. After that, you want to identify the appropriate tactical options, guidelines, or rules your athletes should follow to make this tactical decision. Lastly, find or design at least one practice contest that gives your athletes the opportunity to work on reading the situation and selecting the appropriate tactic. Think about planning for teaching. First, you want to identify the skills your athletes need to know your athletes, analyze your situation, establish priorities, select the methods for teaching, and plan practices. Identifying and evaluating the skills you'll teach. This is dependent on what you're teaching. So we talked about what physical skills or what tactical skills you might need to know, and what physical skills relate to each sport. So examples: strength, speed, and power might be baseball. Endurance might be track, could be basketball. Flexibility, that could be hockey, that could be baseball. Quickness is probably going to be baseball, basketball, soccer. A lot of sports require quickness. Balance, what could be balance? Definitely hockey. A lot of people fall in hockey as well as soccer and basketball. Agility, that might be some tennis. So just knowing that different sports have different physical skills related, technical skills as well. Training basics. So just understanding that we have a skeletal system. Our movement begins with our skeleton that consists of 206 bones, anchor our muscles and protect our internal organs. Our skeleton was designed for movement with bones that are very strong yet lightweight. I know that the muscles pull on bones to create movement. Fuel in the body, as far as the circular respiratory system is concerned, that we're exchanging blood for CO2 using the lungs and the heart to pump through the body. Understanding that energy as light helps plants grow. We eat the plants. Food is converted into energy. Energy allows our muscles to move, and this muscle movement helps create energy. We talked about anaerobic and aerobic training. So if it's less than 2 minutes, it's anaerobic. If it's more than 2 minutes, it uses fats, carbs, and oxygen, which is aerobic. Anaerobic energy is primarily using sugar or carbs. Coach needs to know the muscular fitness demands for the different variations of sports. So just understand that there's aerobic and anaerobic energy fitness levels, and there's muscular fitness levels as well. Understanding the sports that we talked about in class, whether they're low or high in aerobic or anaerobic, and whether they're low or high in flexibility, strength, endurance, speed, and power. So for aerobic fitness levels, notice that baseball, softball, football are very average, and then extremely high in the aerobic end would be cross country, long distance running. Okay, in the middle or high, you have soccer. Above average is basketball. Okay, these are your aerobic fitness levels for different sports. Different types of resistant exercise systems: free weights, fixed resistant machines, variable resistant machines, partner resistance, and elastic training methods. Look at our essential 8. We have our bench press or chest press, bent over row or seated row, standing press, shoulder press on a machine, bicep curl using a pulley or dumbbells, tricep extension using a bar or cable pulley, a squat with a barbell or a leg press, twisting trunk curl, leg curl, and then you have your crunch. Understand the 6 basic nutrients: carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, and water. Know that the athlete's diet best consists of 55 to 65% carbs, 20 to 30% fat, and 10 to 30% protein. Understand that high glycemic foods are not as good as low glycemic foods. Low glycemic foods burn and last longer than high glycemic foods. So, for example, during a competition, you might want higher glycemic, but before a competition, you're going to want low glycemic. Talking about different types of supplements, notice that you're going to see that scientific evidence shows little to no evidence on most supplements. I know that caffeine does support the claim. I know that ginseng is refuted, and there's inconclusive evidence on a lot of these supplements that we take. Just understand that most of these supplements that people take are not confirmed by science. On Blackboard, I've given you some of these types of forms. So risks, facilities, and equipment and inspection lists. These are for you. These won't be on the test, but I want you to have these just in case you are going to be a coach. Injury report forms, and that's pretty much the book. So we went over almost all 20 chapters, and each chapter, hopefully you took something away from the book and from this video, and use this video for your study guide for the final exam.